What's going on there, folks? Good evening. Once again, it is the Earthmaster here on this Wednesday, May 18th, 2022 date. It's about 7:55 p.m. California time. Latest quake shows a 2.3 on the earthquake 3D globe here. Showing some low activity striking over there in this area of the world. Let's go ahead and check out the latest map here. We'll go ahead and check out the EMSC model right off the bat and see what's going on in that area of the world real quick. I know we got some activity in the South Sandwich Islands as well, but the activity, most recent activity there on the globe, going to be up here in the purple circle area. Looks like a couple small microquakes there within the last few hours around the France area. Largest one looks to be about a 2.8 about 9 hours ago, but more recently 22 minutes ago, a 2.3 on the EMSC model. Okay, back to the USGS model here, showing that earthquake I mentioned here, 5.0 down in the South Sandwich Trench. Looks like we had a couple there. One late last night and one just within the last hour within the same vicinity of each other. Into the trench region, looks like about 35 kilometers or so into that subduction zone. Looking at the South America region, not a whole lot of activity. And looking regionally, or as far as globally, I should say, not a whole lot of specific large-scale movement today. I think the largest one we've seen so far was the 5.7 down here in the southern East Pacific Rise, and the Antarctica Plate down here, Pacific and Antarctica Plate. A little bit of activity kicking up here. This area does stay pretty active, and of course the shallow movement, which is typical for this area, 10 kilometers or so for that earthquake. Let's go ahead and check out the west coast here. Not a whole lot going on for 2.5 and above. Looks like the 2.6 around Death Valley earlier was the latest quake here, at least for the 2.5 and above. Let's go ahead and go to the all magnitude, see what we got going on. A couple circles up here in Northern California. Of course, the Cobb Mountain region, south of Clear Lake, around the geothermal fields out there, and also one earthquake here outside of the Thermalito area, just west of Oroville. Got a 1.8, 26 kilometers deep. That's some pretty deep earthquake activity there on the eastern side of the valley. I have a feeling I know what it is, or why it's there, and why we've been seeing a little bit of deep earthquake activity up and down the Pacific coast and inland, is because of all the tremor. I haven't checked it yet, but I have a feeling it's going to be pretty good. There's some movement there, 0.5 near Lapine, Oregon. This, of course, is the Newberry Volcano. We checked this earlier. Not super active far as earthquake activity goes, but they did report a 0.5 at pretty shallow depth there of about 1.7. Up to the Pacific Northwest, we haven't seen any further significant movement. There is a deep earthquake activity up here as well due to all the tremor to the west along the Cascadia subduction zone. It looks like we have a little bit more activity here around the eastern side of the Devil's Mountain Fault. This one is in an area, there's a couple earthquakes in the area where we had a little bit of swarming kick up here over the last couple days or so. About 17 earthquakes and a little swarm just outside of the Arlington area within this little valley, and on the Devil's Mountain Fault system there, capable of producing probably about a 7.5 or so. It does stretch over to the Victoria region, so some pretty populated areas that would be in the damage path. All right, let's see here. So now that we're kind of covering that, let's go ahead and check out the tremor map here tonight, see what we got. And wow, okay, it's actually a little disappointing. I thought we'd see some huge number, but this is about 172 epicenters of tremor. Most of it looks to be here in Northern California at the southern end of the Cascadia. Prior day, yesterday and the day before, we had numbers up around the 500-600 range. 536 yesterday, and then the day before that 690. So it was pretty active along the entire length of the Cascadia subduction zone. But today just got 172. It still covers the broad area of the subduction zone itself, but the numbers are kind of dropping a little bit there, but most of it confined there to the southern end of the Cascadia, down there about 30 35 kilometers or so into the area of the Cascadia subduction zone. Looking at the eastern part of Sierra Nevada and the Ridgecrest area, not a whole lot going on. A couple scattered quakes out and about. There's that activity out there in the Death Valley region around Furnace Creek, 2.6, and a little aftershock there, 1.4. Southern part of the state, about the same, although a little bit of swarming down here south of the Borrego Springs area. Nope, not a big deal. Just a couple small microquakes. San Andreas Fault looks pretty quiet for now on the southern segment, and the Imperial Fault the same. Low activity, of course, stretching up here from about Ridgecrest eastward. You can follow that trail of mountain ranges up here towards the Yellowstone supervolcano. I don't believe we've seen anything pop up here recently. We did have a little swarm here around the West Yellowstone area, south of that region, I should say. Still around the western edge of the Yellowstone caldera. Let's go ahead and check out the latest Yellowstone overview here. See what's being reported. There is that swarm I was telling you about earlier this morning. A couple earthquakes, pretty good handful. USGS, of course, did a pretty good job of getting those in there right away. And far as recent activity goes here, this afternoon time frame and early evening, I'm not seeing a whole lot here, folks, at least in this mix of data. Let's look at Old Faithful here. Maybe a couple small earthquakes, maybe another one there. It looks like earlier this afternoon, late morning, I should say. But over the past few hours, things kind of mellowing out. Not a whole lot to report there at Yellowstone. Eastern side of the park, it looks like they may, that's going to be the signature of that earthquake towards the western side of the park there. But as far as eastern movement goes, not seeing a whole lot of activity here along the eastern part of the caldera tonight. Let's get out of here and head south. Not a whole lot going on throughout northern or central plains, southern plains out here in Oklahoma. A couple small earthquakes, although most of this activity from early this morning. New Madrid zone, pretty quiet. One earthquake here in the North Carolina region. That was from way earlier this morning of 2.0. Puerto Rico area, kind of just been, I don't know, just kind of been a calm day. Just kind of eerily calm, I would say. 10 earthquakes in total here. Not a big deal around the southwestern edge of Puerto Rico. Hawaii, let's go ahead and zoom in here and see what we got cooking. Out in the Pacific, a little activity around the Kilauea volcano here, around the crater. And most of the activity here confined to the southeastern region, with some activity that's been, it's been ongoing in that region since about the 60s or so. Look it up. I covered that here in the an update in within the past few weeks here. Kind of a cool little article on why this earthquake activity is occurring there continuously. Alaska, some movement up here along the Aleutian Trench. We did see, of course, that 5.8 late last night. Since then, just a little microquake activity or so around the Rat Islands, and looks like a little swarming up here outside of, let's see, I'm not for sure which volcano that is, but looks like a little bit of swarming kicking up here. We haven't seen any major changes to the Alaskan volcano chain up here. Everything still seems to be as is. A couple of them are in the watch category. Most of them are all normal. And these are just the monitored volcanoes. There's quite a few unmonitored. When you add that list in right here, unmonitored volcanoes, look at all that. Quite a bit. Bring in the monitored. And yeah, there's pretty active, let me tell you, as far as the amount of volcanoes go. But as far as any unrest right now, nothing up in the warning category. Far as that goes. Seismic stations, unfortunately I haven't been able to access these seismic stations here, and I don't know why. They've been off for a few days. I don't know if there's maybe a different site. I know there's obviously some other sites to use, but I was hoping to maneuver around here with that within this page, but not working. All right, let's see what else we got. Go back to the USGS map here and take a look. A little bit of activity around the Tokyo area, south of Tokyo, along the trench line here. And some movement south here around the Mariana Trench and off the coast of Taiwan. Fiji has remained awfully quiet, and the Tonga and Kermadec Trench as well. See here, what else we got? Let's check out Earthquakes Canada. Sometimes these guys have some activity up there on the northern end of the Cascadia, which they don't today. Looks like over here around the Ottawa area, got the latest earthquake, a 1.8, about 18 kilometers or so for that earthquake. Aside from that, Canada looks pretty quiet here over the last day or so. Go check out space weather here. I know we did have a little M flare kickoff this afternoon, kind of sparked things up just a little bit. I believe it was an M1. These guys aren't even showing it here. I believe it was a 1.2 or 1.1, very small. Just barely reached into the M threshold. Since then, definitely been crackling with seas all over the place. These sunspots are looking pretty massive here, folks. We're getting a pretty dynamic setup here from 3014. Look at this very close intermixing. This thing will probably pop off another M flare, probably a little bit greater one here very soon. It is on the Earth side facing us, so anything that does pop off, including a CME, will produce a geo-effective occurrence right there. Look at that. It's pretty impressive. This thing is growing rapidly as well, so the dynamics are definitely there. These other sunspots, not impressive one bit. Looks like a little bit of decay, but this baby right here looks pretty prominent. It looks like a little new development here along the eastern edge of the sun, eastern limb, and I'm sure there's some further development behind that. So looks like these guys still sticking with a 15% chance of an X flare probability, and M flare around 35% chance with a 99% certainty there of a C flare. KP indexes right now look somewhat calm, although getting up to around the 2 range. I know we did have a little amplification tonight, possibly for the 3 to 4 range for the KP indexes here. We'll see how that holds out. Right now, getting a little bit of aurora forecast built in there. Let's see what we got for the raw data. Not a whole lot. Looks pretty consistent and even for now. We'll see how that goes throughout the rest of the night. But I'll keep an eye on that one. Definitely got to keep an eye on the which sunspot is that? That's going to be 3014, right? Yep. All right, guys. I'm going to bounce out of here. Going to keep it a little short. We'll chat you guys a little bit later on. Live stream, of course, is up and running. Looks like trying to see here. Looks like Japan is showing some type of signature there. Some wavy patterns. See if you guys can see that on the seismograph, indicative of a distant earthquake. Stand by for a second as it comes up. Not this one here, but it's going to be this baby right here where the hand is. See this wavy pattern? That's normally a sign of a distant earthquake somewhere. I don't believe it's picking up the 5-pointer in the South Sandwich Islands area. Let's see what we got over here. Maybe, hold on a second here. Let's glance over here and see what we got. Probably showing up on the EMSC model. I don't see anything yet on the USGS. There is a little earthquake up here in Alaska right now, 3.2, but that's not going to give off that signature that far away. Checking out the EMSC model. I'm not seeing anything around here. So that's kind of odd to see that that signature show up. There's definitely an earthquake popping off somewhere. But the question is where? Wait a minute. Let's see. Let me go back here. Yeah, that's the South Sandwich Islands on the bottom there. Well, either way, we'll keep you guys updated if it's something noteworthy to bring about in an updated video. But for now, have a great night and stay safe out there, folks. The world's getting very, very interesting. So you got to stay alert and just be cautious out there, and hope everyone enjoys the rest of their evening. Take care, guys.